Hello, Bill Carroll, Zennie62 Media. And against my better judgment, I'm going to be taking you through 32 teams in 32 days, and I'm going to begin with the Bears. And while I'm going to spend a little bit of time with their most recent draft, I'm really grading their 2020 draft and looking at their depth chart in 2020 and then holding it up against their depth chart now, or the provisional depth chart now, and seeing if they're heading in the right direction, if they've made moves that will take them in the right direction, and if they've made the most of their opportunities to improve the team. So the Bears began 2020 with three quarterbacks on the depth chart: Mitch Trubisky, Nick Foles, Taylor Bray, all of whom are gone for various reasons, and have moved on to a quarterback they believe to be the quarterback of the future, and frankly, I believe they are correct in Justin Fields. At running back, they opened that season with David Montgomery, Tyreek Cohen, and Ryan Nall. David Montgomery was a guy that gave you everything he had, but just didn't have that much. Was a guy that had, I would say, good contact balance, slightly above average quickness, but way below average speed, and so he couldn't make a lot of big plays. Tyreek Cohen was a tremendous, explosive, dynamic athlete who was undone by injury. And then Ryan Nall was sort of a Brad Muster type, sort of halfway between move tight end and fullback, and never quite really nailed down either one. At wide receiver, a lot of promise in Allen Robinson II, never quite delivered on it. Cordell Patterson, who really started to revive his career and contributed really on special teams, but now has had a really interesting second act to his career as a wide back. And then Thomas Ives, who did virtually nothing. Ted Ginn Jr. Was looking to also to revive his career, had a few flashes, but didn't really solidify. Darnell Mooney, however, was a pick I really liked. I liked him a lot in college. I feel very justified. I loved him at Tulane. I still think he's about to break out. Hopefully, for the Bears and for my sake as a talent evaluator, hopefully we're both right. Javon Wims, who was a special teamer and possession receiver, and then Alex Wesley, who was basically a slightly poorer man's version of Javon Wims. At slot receiver, they played Anthony Miller, another guy I really like, Riley Ridley, and then they had also Trevor Davis, not to be confused with Reggie Davis, who were both on the depth chart. And obviously, of those, the one that's been the most productive of that group was Anthony Miller. Their two tight ends they had two different tight ends, both a U and a Y. And then at the U, they had Jimmy Graham, Ben Broniker, who's sort of a poor man's Cameron Brate, and then Jasper Horsted, who was sort of a smaller, faster man's Cameron Brate. I really liked him coming out of Princeton, but he never quite locked in what he was supposed to do for the Bears. And then Darian Clark was a basketball player at USC who was trying to make that transition, which some guys have made from power forward to tight end. At the other tight end, the Y, and of course, who they still have there, was a rookie at that year. It's Cole Kmet, who has not spectacular or great, but a solid starting tight end. Demetrius Harris, Adam Shaheen, who had previously been, I think, a really rightly criticized draft pick by Ryan Pace, and I think one of the main exhibits is why he should have been moved on from. Also, J.P. Holtz and Eric Saubert. Moving to their offensive line, which I think was one of the main undoings of Mitchell Trubisky, along with just Mitchell Trubisky's lack of experience as a player coming out of college. They had Charles Leno Jr., not terrible, but a guy that I thought was sort of a swing / right tackle, but they tossed him in at left. I liked him a little bit coming out of Boise. I was much higher even on Jason Spriggs, though I saw him more as a right tackle than left tackle, but they had him on the left tackle depth chart out of Indiana. And then Dino Boyd, who was mostly a practice squatter and I think occasionally was elevated to the starting roster, not starting, but the active roster. Bobby Massey was a guy that I was never really sold on, but once again had some good games. Rashad Coward I really liked as a defensive tackle coming out of Old Dominion, but he sort of, to me, inextricably has been moved to both guard and right tackle at various points in his NFL career. Never even got a chance to try playing him on defense, but it is what it is. He struggled, not too surprisingly, at right tackle. And then Alex Bars, who when he played wasn't awful, but also wasn't good. Cody Whitehair and James Mustafa held down center, and then at right guard in those days you had Jermaine Ifedi, who, once again, had some good days. Rashad Coward also backed up that position. And Lashavius Simmons, who was a project who I think, once again, had some, showed some talent, but just was not able to develop, was too far down the depth chart. and now I believe is on the Cardinals roster. At left guard, you had James Daniels, who I really liked coming out of college, Corey Levin, and Arlington Hambright, who was mostly a practice squatter and was occasionally elevated to the depth chart. And I believe he may have last been seen on the Colts depth chart or practice squad maybe. But once again, don't quote me on that. And then moving on, a few other, I guess, draft picks of note in 2020. A really solid player, right out of the box, was Jalen Johnson. Liked him coming out of Utah, and there were some other corners also that were considered. I'm assuming Trevon Diggs went right after him, and then you look a little further down the draft. There's some other corners, but still the player that I really was focused on, and I was on board with. Frankly, taking him in the late first was Antoine Winfield Jr. I still feel like he's one of the steals of the draft when he went at pick 45 to Tampa Bay. I can't help but wonder, what kind of team would they have? They'd snagged him with that pick. But it was not a bad draft at all. All but two of the players, Lashavius Simmons and Arlington Hambright, at least contributed fairly early and often to the Bears. So I would say, Cole Kmet, though I didn't love him exactly out of Notre Dame, has had a solid career. I'd give that a B. Jalen Johnson, I'd give that once again a B. In the fifth, they got Travis Gibson. I'd give that a B+. Kindle Vildor, though he's, not been a star, he's contributed. That's at least B-. Getting Darnell Mooney where you got him. Getting Darnell Mooney when you got him in the fifth at pick 173, that's an A to me. Arlington Hambright and Lashavius Simmons, those are C-, and you don't expect that much out of that, that point in the draft at picks 226 and 227. Okay, I'm going to look at their depth chart as of today. So, where once they had the receivers that I talked about before, they now have DJ Moore, Chase Claypool, Darnell Mooney, a holdover, Aqueminius St. Brown, Velus Jones. I was not excited about him coming out, one, because he didn't really produce all that well and was 25 years old. To me, that's two strikes, and like I said, I wasn't sold on him. Tyler Scott, who occasionally people call Scott Tyler, small, quick, some limitations, but talented. We'll see what happens with him, but he should make the team. Dante Pettis, another guy who's trying to revive his career. Circle this name. This is a player I was really high on coming out of college, and if he gets an opportunity, I won't be shocked if he finds a way to actually produce. Is Doris Fountain, an explosive, somewhat raw player coming out, but he got hurt. If he can stay healthy and if he's well coached, I think he might do something special. Then you have Zimba Webster, and then at the very end of the depth chart, you have Joe Reed, who's got a less than 50% chance of making the team, but might. Thyrick Pitts, a college free agent. Aaron Cruikshank, a college free agent, and that's their wide receiver group. And then looking at their tight ends, Cole Kmet, holdover, still there. He was a rookie, obviously, then. He's an established pro now. They also brought in Robert Tonyan as a unrestricted free agent from Green Bay. They have Jake Tongas, who was a college free agent, and Chase Allen, also college free agent, from last year. And then Stephen Carlson, a college free agent from this year. I think they're going to end up keeping 3 tight ends. So Tongas is probably safe, and Tonyan obviously is going to be there, and then Kmet's going to be the starter. Justin Fields, P.J. Walker, who I really liked coming out of Temple, and they also have Nathan Peterman, Tyson Bagent. I'm assuming that they're going to move on. Frankly, for me, I'd move on from Peterman, but for whatever reason, he seems to be like catnip to certain people in the NFL, so I guess he makes the team. But I like P.J. Walker a lot, and I think that he's a really good backup for Fields. Then you have Dante Foreman, a player I really like. Khalil Herbert, a player I love, and I hope that, though right now they have Foreman listed as a starter, frankly, if it were up to me, I would probably lean the other way because I think Herbert can do a few more things, though I like Foreman's just power and speed. And then you have Roshan Johnson, another sort of do-everything back, but not super athletic and not super productive, but he's a guy that people like. He showed some flashes at Texas, and he's a former quarterback. Then you have Travis Homer, another guy I think is somewhat underrated, and then Treston Ebner. I think that they probably keep all but one of those players, and then they're going to keep at least one fullback. They did bring in Kyrie Blasingame as an unrestricted free agent. I'm assuming he makes the team, and then Robert Burns is a college free agent who probably going to end up in the practice squad. Flipping over to the offensive line, which I mentioned was a problem for them. They have, I think, exactly one holdover from that previous iteration of their offensive line. So, people that they've held on to, Cody Whitehair, that's the list. Cody Whitehair is there. But moving on from that, Tevin Jenkins, I think this is his sort of breakout year. He's now playing left guard. I think he can play tackle. But they also have Braxton Jones, a guy I was super high on, a member of my all underappreciated team at Southern Utah. Watch out for him to do well. And then backing him up, you have Ja'Tyre Carter, another guy I liked. And then they have Gabriel Huey, who's a college free agent who may or may not make the team. They brought back Doug Kramer to back up at center, along with Patrick Lucas, who came in as an unrestricted free agent from Green Bay. A lot of Green Bay Packers. Unrestricted free agents. Nate Davis from Tennessee, unrestricted free agent, is listed on the depth chart right now at starter at right guard. Then they also have Keelan Deitch backing up Braxton Jones. So here's what I'm going to say about the left tackle position. This is the most athletic group of left tackles I can remember since maybe the Super Bowl shuffle era for the Bears. They tended in the past, for whatever reason, to go with guys that were sort of questionable athletes at the position. They fixed all that. Both Deitch and Jones are top-tier left tackle athletes. And then they have Josh Lugg, who may or may not make the team as a college free agent, and former San Francisco 49er practice squatter Roy Mapatika. Looking over now at the rest of the guards, as I mentioned, Nate Davis, Dieter Elison, also Lawrence Metz, who is another college free agent. And then, of course, they drafted Darnell Wright, pick 23, not pick 23, pick 9? Yeah. Sorry, of 2023 in this most recent draft. Larry Borum comes back from last year, not from 2020. I think he's a guy that's a good move-around piece. He can back up a couple different positions on the line. He can play guard. He can play probably either tackle in a pinch. Alex Leatherwood seeking to sort of unbust, another guy I didn't like much coming out. And then they have a college free agent, Robert Haskins, who's probably going to be a practice squad guy. Leatherwood is only 50-50 to make the team, in my opinion. And now I can jump over to defense. And so, on defense, DeMarcus Walker and Andrew Billings, Justin Jones, and Travis Gibson. Travis Gibson, a survivor, right, from the 2020 team where he was drafted. And I'm going to just walk through their 2020 defensive depth chart. So, Akeem Hicks, I think they've sort of downgraded from Akeem Hicks. Brent Urban, those other guys are all right. And then Khalil Mack, superstar. Robert Quinn, superstar. Roquan Smith, stud. Okay, so let's compare that to 2023. DeMarcus Walker, Andrew Billings, Justin Jones, Travis Gibson. Travis Gibson was, of course, a young reserve in 2020. Now he's not stud, but he's a starter, a solid starter, a guy I really like, and I think he might have something of a breakout year. DeMarcus Walker is a guy who's another solid, good football player, not a superstar, backed up by Rasheem Green and Jalen Holmes. Jalen Harris is a guy that I think is probably less than 50-50 shot to make the team as a college free agent. Billings is a huge, powerful man. He's backed up by the guy they drafted in the 3rd round, Zach Pickens. Travis Bell, they drafted in the 7th, and then Donovan Jeter, who was another San Francisco 49er, unrestricted free. No, I think he might have been practice squatter, but they signed him. They have Justin Jones, the other D tackle, who's a former Charger. Once again, good football player. Jervon Dexter, I won't be shocked if Jervon Dexter eventually overtakes him. And then Andrew Brown, who came over from Arizona, I think maybe their practice squad. Travis Gibson, like I said, still there. Dominique Robinson, this I think could be, even as a part-timer, his breakout season, I think he's going to play in their, whatever they call it, rally car, NASCAR, dragster, whatever they call that package, where they put 4 pass rushers, with their hand in the dirt. That's probably going to be Gibson, Dominique Robinson, Rasheem Green, and DeMarcus Walker probably all play at the same time in that situation. And then one of their big, free agent signings was Tremaine Edmonds at linebacker, joined by T.J. Edwards, Jack Sanborn, who I liked former college free agent, I really like coming out of Wisconsin, and Dylan Cole is backing them up, along with Noah Sewell, who was I think a real bargain coming in the 5th. Obviously, the younger brother Panay. Also, they have a really interesting former Indiana Colt in Sterling Weatherford, who was a quarterback slash defensive back safety type coming out, and grew and got converted over, played a little bit of tight end, I think, even in his days in college before finally at Miami of Ohio becoming sort of this hybrid safety, weak linebacker kind of guy. And then they also have DeMarcus Gates, Terrell Lewis, Cooney Dang, another San Francisco guy, Terrell Lewis, another San Francisco guy, a lot of San Francisco guys who came over. And moving to the secondary, once again, the holdover is Jalen Johnson, who was drafted, as I said, pick 44 in 2020. They have Jaquan Brisker, who I really like at one safety, Eddie Jackson, who I really like at one safety. So they have a really nice safety tandem. The question mark is the other corner, where the struggle or battle is going to be between another San Francisco Giant and Greg Stroman, Kendall Vildor, and the rookie Tyreek Stevenson. And then at nickel, Kyler Gordon and Josh Blackwell. Both those guys I think are locked to make the team. Not a lot going on in terms of special teams. The only real sort of battle to me is Cairo Sanchez is going to be challenged by a really talented kid from Syracuse in Andre Zimmett, who is a college free agent, who is going to challenge him for place kick and kickoffs. We might see Velus Jones get a challenge from Tyler Scott and even Aaron Cruikshank, maybe, for his kick return. I think Dante Pettis is safe, though Velus Jones may get a shot as well. And the long snapper is Patrick Scales. They didn't bring someone in, so he's safe. So that's the Bears. I will be doing, I guess I'll go in reverse order of the draft. So I'll be working my way, well, what would have been reverse order. Obviously the trade, changed all that. But that's it. Thank you.